After reviewing watches for over 5 years, I'm going to tell you the best bunch of watches I've ever reviewed. Let's get into it! Yes, and welcome to the Mad Watch Collector Show. Now today I thought it would be a bit fun to dedicate a show to the very best watches I've ever reviewed. I've been around a while now. Now these watches may not be the highest spec, nor expensive, and they may not be ones you love. In this list you're going to see watches that I do own, used to own, would like to own but never will, and watches in 2026 I think I'm gonna buy back. You muppet! Shut up, you. So, sit back, relax, and let me tell you about a bunch of watches that are absolutely awesome. Are you best watches I've reviewed of all time ready? Let's go. Right, okay, I'm gonna go in hard with my first pick, and that is a Seiko. It's the watch I never thought I could ever pull off with my tiny 6.5-inch wrist. This Seiko in my collection is still my favorite one of the bunch. And around 3.5 years ago, when I found out that Seiko were going to re-release the old 6105 cushion style asymmetrical dive watch that was first sold back in the late 60s, I couldn't get to see one fast enough. And I bought and reviewed the SPB153. It's pretty much how a reissue should be done. This case is absolutely magnificent. It's flat but rounded. It has the best concealed crown guards on any watch, and it's pretty much built like a tank. It's a professional tool, a professional diver's watch with a real 200 meters water resistance to it, and it's around 42.9 millimeters in diameter, which for me is big. But where the lug to lug is only about 48 to 47, it actually wears amazingly well on your wrist and like hugs it like a, I don't know, like an octopus's sucker. Sapphire glass, screw down crown and case back obviously, and the bezel is nice and twisty. For anyone that wants to buy themselves the ultimate Seiko, I don't know, commemoration dive watch. We know you've got the Turtle, the Samurai, the Sumo, the SKX. This is even more special in my opinion. Next up, I'm going to go for a watch that I have championed ever since I started my channel, and it's one of those watches everyone should own at least when they're starting their watch collecting journey. And it is, ladies and gentlemen, the Seagull 1963. You want the 38mm acrylic glass with the display case back, showing off the magnificent ST19 movement. A movement that used to be Swiss, now Chinese, but looks absolutely magnificent. One of those affordable movements that if were Swiss today would cost an absolute arm and a leg. The dial is so unique looking, but works. Now they don't have any lume, but that's not why you buy this watch. With this one you're sort of beating the system, cheating the system, cheating the Swiss. A manual wind column wheel chronograph at your fingertips, in your hands, from the likes of Amazon for around 200 to 250 quid. It had to be in this list. Now to a brand called Formex. Now if you have been following the channel since 2020,
God help you,
you will know I'm not a massive fan of modern looking watches. I'm more of a designs influence from the old days. But this brand does something to me. Formex have been around 20 odd years, and in that time have been innovating the actual wearing of a watch since that day. At least 3 years ago, I reviewed the Formex Essence 39. It had a gorgeous malachite dial, and this was the first time I was ever exposed to precious stone dials. They have this very unique patented suspension system to give a little give if you need it on the wrist. Something I know watch enthusiasts weren't really asking for, but they went and gone and did it. But that is just an example of one of the many over-engineered parts to a Formex watch. See, this is another cheating the system watch. The owner of the brand has a very good relationship. Well, when I say relationship, the family's involved. This brand is able to use a company that makes bracelets, cases, clasp for the likes of Girard-Perregaux and very high-end watch brands. But the amazing thing is, Formex don't make their watches too expensive. Yes, they're Swiss made. Yes, they have all these innovations and patterns to them. Yes, they make their own dials. But if any big Swiss brand were doing the same watch as the Essence, well, you'd be talking £3,500 to £4,000 at least. Formex are the reason why I fell back in love with Swiss watchmaking. It's not all about the Swatch Group taking more and more money from us without doing much. Formex made me realise some of the Swiss are great.
Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
The next one's an obvious one, isn't it? My favourite dive watch I own and have ever reviewed, so much so I got two of them, and it is still the Black Bay 58. The first one I got back in 2020, the OG, and the blue version I got 2.5 to 3 years on. These watches are absolute staples in my collection, and I don't think they'll ever go. That's because these watches are so close to perfection for what I want in a watch. The bezel action is, well, the best. Apart from the Pelagos 39, but that watch is blooming light. Too light, like a feather. The dimensions are perfect. 39 millimeters, 11 mil thick, 47-48 lug to lug, with a lug width of 20. We've got an in-house COSC certified automatic movement, and the look of the watch pulls from everything great about the Tudor Submariner from the last 50-60 years. From the snowflake handset, to the rose etched crown, to the red triangle pip on the bezel. I'm proud to own these watches. I'm proud to wear them. I think these are the best watches Tudor are ever going to do. For me.
Could you just click that like button, please? It really helps the channel. Thank you.
And I suppose we ought to come on to Tudor's big brother, that is Rolex. And my goal at some point was to own a Rolex Explorer and a Rolex Submariner. In 2018, I was lucky enough to purchase the 214270. You could only buy this watch new in the 39mm at that point. And you know what? I never really fell in love with it because there was a part of me that always thought, too big! Exactly. The Explorer is meant to be 36mm, and when I reviewed the Explorer that superseded the 1016, well, it was a match made in heaven because I had everything I wanted from a modern Swiss watch, but it still felt vintagey. On the whole, I'm not a lover of Rolex blinginess, you know, the modern Rolex watches of today. Now, when it comes to the Submariner, I always thought that one day if I was lucky, I'd own the 5513, the watch Roger Moore wore in James Bond. However, after handling one, it just didn't feel like it fit for purpose for me and what I do in the day-to-day life. It felt fragile, and essentially it's a 50-year-old watch. Rolex didn't put a ratchet to their bezels until the late 80s. This movement only purred away at 18,000 beats per hour, which is the same as a Vostok Amphibia. It had an acrylic glass. It turned out the 5513 wasn't for me, but the 14060 was the watch for me. Because like the Explorer, I found a reference that was vintage enough it looked like James Bond's watch, but it still had the modern upgrades, like a 4Hz movement, sapphire glass, white gold indices and handset, ratcheting bezel, and I guess over the last 2 years I've realised that the 5-digit Rolex sports watches are flipping hard to beat. But when we talk about modern Rolex, there is one watch I've got a guilty crush on. It's one I know I'll never own because, well, one, I can't afford it, but two, it's just a little bit too showy. And no, I'm not talking about the Daytona, which I think is an incredible watch too. It is the GMT Master 2 Pepsi. Absolutely gorgeous machine and thing to hold in your hands. Very vivid Cerachrome red and blue bezel insert. Iconic looking dial. Iconic GMT hand. You know, I guess it's like your favourite shiny in your sticker book. It might come out from time to time, but you'll never take it out the house. Do you own one of them watches? Next up, a watch I've reviewed and owned and eventually sold, and I'm gutted I did it. Because to me, this watch, it's got the best blue dial on the market. Better than Tudors, Omegas. This is one of those dials that make you feel good when you look at it. And I'm talking about the Squale 1521 50 Atmos Blue Ocean. Squale have a great history of first making dive watch cases for the likes of Blancpain, and then in the 60s coming up with their own watches. They are a great great brand to get into and get behind. They are producing some absolute stunners. Now this 1521 case, it's very special. It's very unique. It has an asymmetrical case, but it doesn't look out of place. The lugs almost act like a hood. The bezel action is great. Love the chunky rehole. I guess it semi reminds me of a Seiko diver because of that crown at 4 o'clock, but this is a 500-meter diver. A depth on a watch I never thought I'd own. But again, it's one of those amazing watches that even though on paper maybe a bit too big for me, it turned out it wasn't. 42 millimeters, 48 lug to lug, 12.5 thick. It wore like a dream. This watch houses the SW200-1, 4 hertz movement with a 38-hour power reserve, sapphire glass. I initially bought this watch with a leather strap, which I know is a bit weird for most of us, including me. I then had it on the Squale shark mesh bracelet for a while, and maybe that's what put me off it eventually, because overall the watch was very heavy. When people are crying out for a little bit of character from a brand that's been going for some time, this could be the brand to get into. And the 1521 Blue Ocean, best blue out there. How can I not do this list without talking about the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical? This watch introduced me to field watches, and it's the reason why I fully jumped into military style watches. This is another one of those rite of path watch enthusiast watches. You've been buying entry level for a few months, now it's time to buy a big boy's watch. And this one was, and still is, a phenomenal icon to own. Because the beauty with military style watches, field watches in general, they never go out of style. And it doesn't matter if you're wearing spandex or you're dressed as the man from Del Monte. This watch is always going to be with you. The lug to lug was always a little bit big. It has the best, not only the best crown, but the best crown action for any watch under £1,000. Now these days you can get this watch as a 40mm, a 38, you can get it on a bracelet. The unfortunate thing is these watches aren't cheap anymore. You could get a brand new one back in 2020 for around 350 quid. They're now close to 500 to 600. But I still honestly think the Hamilton Khaki Field Mechanical is definitely one of the best watches I've reviewed, and it always will be.
Take 2.
Let's see a little more originality, shall we? Right, now, if it wasn't for the Hamilton Field Mechanical, I don't think I would have got into military style watches. And these next 2 brands are just awesome. First of all, you know my love for Vertex, a brand that was first formed back in 1912. They were a company that took Swiss movements and recased them in England. This brand made a huge name for themselves after being chosen one of 12 to be commissioned to make a field watch for the British military in World War II. They were in with the likes of Longines, IWC, Omega, but they were the only British brand. Now in the early 70s, because of the quartz crisis, Vertex's factory closed down. But in 2015, Don Cochran, a blood relative to Claude Lyons, the founder, brought back Vertex and released a commemoration watch, which was the M100. This was a celebration of the caliber 59 that was commissioned back in World War II. It was the first time I had ever seen lume blocks on a dial, and it was also the first time I had ever seen perfection on a dial. Perfection for me and what I'm looking for in a field watch. From legibility to water resistance to the Swiss movement inside to a historical brand I really want to be part of or feel part of. This for me is the best field watch I've ever reviewed. And yes, the M36 is incredible, but that initial open the box and look at it, I don't think I'll get the same feeling as I did with that M100. And from one field watch to another, it's the G10 from CWC. Yes, the Cabot Watch Company, a company that was just made and formed to supply tool watches to the British military. Now, for anyone that wants a genuine British specification military issued timepiece that is an exact copy, pretty much, CWC is the place to go. Now, I think these watches were first issued in 1980 and they were being issued for around 28 years. These are quite simple watches, but Awesome ones. A battery operated Swiss Ronda inside. This case has absolutely no frills. It's all brushed. It has fixed spring bars, as that was the British specification. So it's only NATOs that are going to fit this watch. Awesome British railroad tracker going along the outside of the dial. Love the handset. I think this watch is around £299 now. But as I said, true British military history. When I opened the box of this watch for the first time, again, it just did something to me. First of all, it smells like an army surplus store. So it gives you that this has been issued vibe more than I've purchased this vibe. Right, 2 more watches for you, and they are both German. The first one, well, it's a company I really got to know in 2025. Obviously, I knew of them before. A company that have been going since the 1880s. They made a big name for themselves, making affordable stopwatches back in the 1920s. I guess it's post-World War II, where they made their absolute icon, the 417ES, a pilot's flyback chronograph. That was later bought by Steve McQueen, no other, so he could time himself on his bike races while he was in Germany. But this reissue that was made 39mm, like the original, it's the first time we had a flyback Swiss movement inside with the red pusher as well. I got to visit the factory where these watches were assembled, cared for and tested. It gave me a higher love for this brand, but also this watch. It's a beautifully made object, gorgeous iconic dial, but this is the watch I've been wearing the most this year, just because it just looks so different to my other watches, but still giving me that vintage aesthetic. It's still on the Bund strap. I'm not taking it off because I think it pretty much fits this watch beautifully. And there aren't many true iconic chronographs out there that are under £2,000. Awesome stuff. The last company I'm going to talk about is Sinn. Unlike Hanhart, Sinn don't have a hugely rich history, only goes back until the 50s. But since that time, they have made incredible watches. Whether it's pilots' watches or dive watches, these things are well and truly over-engineered. Owner of a U50, slightly regret selling it, but I feel more regret selling another watch of theirs. And it's a stupid reason why I sold it. The fact of the matter was, I was wearing this watch too much. This watch to me is the ultimate do-it-all watch. And I'm talking about the 104 STSA1. An incredible pilot's watch that also looks like a dive watch. The case is polished all over, so you can wear this to work or to a wedding, but it also looks ready for action. Tough! It's got a bi-directional countdown bezel. It's 200 meters water resistant, sapphire glass, and the case is phenomenal. Those boxy style lugs I absolutely love, but Sinn do dials so well. The matte black with the brightest of white from the handset or the indices just popping straight back at you. This is a watch that would make all your other watches jealous. Guaranteed. Powering this watch, we have a Sellita SW220-1 inside, 4 hertz, 26 joules. You can buy this one for around £1,200 now, I think. I need a Sinn back in my life, and it's gonna be the 104. And it's just another one of those examples of, you know, me searching far and wide, doing all these reviews, looking for ultimate watches, when in actual fact, I went and gone and sold one of the most ultimate-y ones. So there we go, a bunch of my favourite watches I've ever reviewed. A list I'm very happy I did, but also sad because I really want a Squale and a Sinn again. Who knows what the next 5 years will bring in terms of reviews and watches I fall in love with, but it will take a lot to beat this bunch, I tell you that. Am I going to find a better dive watch than a Black Bay 58? Am I going to find a better field watch than the Vertex M100? And am I going to find a better chronograph than the Hanhart 417ES? One thing is for sure, you're gonna come on the ride with me, yes? Sweet! Thank you so much for watching till the end. If you want to support the Mad Watch Collector any further, we got a Patreon now. See the shows early, blooper reels, behind the scenes footage, private group chat, and get your name featured at the end of the show like this incredible lot. These are my favorites. But if I've got you here for a few minutes, and I hope I have, why don't you click this? This is incredible. Yes. Why don't you love it? You will love it. Go on, click it. Wearing a Seiko on today, love it. Go on, click it. You know you love it. Go on, click it.